On January 22, 1879, over 1,300 British soldiers were wiped out in a single afternoon. Not by a modern army. Not by artillery or machine guns. By warriors armed primarily with spears and cowhide shields. That engagement, the Battle of Isandlwana, stands as one of the most devastating defeats ever suffered by the British Empire at the height of its global power. And almost nobody learns about it in school. In the next several minutes, you will discover exactly how a kingdom with no standing army in the European sense, no railroads, no gunpowder manufacturing, and no formal diplomatic allies managed to humiliate the most powerful military force on Earth. We will walk through the political miscalculation that started the war, the tactical genius that decided a battle in hours, and the one factor that British commanders refused to admit cost them everything. The answer challenges everything most people assume about colonialism and military superiority. To understand the Anglo-Zulu War, you have to understand what the Zulu Kingdom actually was. This was not a loosely organized collection of tribes. Under King Shaka in the early 19th century, the Zulus had undergone a total military and political transformation. Shaka reorganized his forces into a system of age-grade regiments called Amabutho, where young men were inducted into a regiment together and remained bonded for life. They trained together, lived together in military kraals, and were only permitted to marry after proving themselves in battle. By the time Shaka was assassinated in 1828, he had forged a centralized kingdom with a standing military culture unlike anything seen in southern Africa before. By 1879, the kingdom was ruled by King Sethweo Kyainpand. Sethweo had approximately 40,000 warriors available for mobilization, organized into experienced regiments with deep institutional memory of warfare. These men were not undisciplined fighters running at enemy lines out of emotion. They trained, they maneuvered, they used terrain, and they operated according to coordinated tactical doctrine. The most famous of these doctrines was the encircling formation called Impondo Zankomo, the horns of the buffalo. A central chest of warriors would engage the enemy frontally while two flanking horn units would sweep wide on both sides and encircle the target. It was methodical, rehearsed, and devastatingly effective. Now enter the British. In 1877, the British government in London approved a confederation plan for southern Africa, aiming to consolidate the region under Crown authority the way Canada had been consolidated. The Zulu Kingdom was viewed as the main obstacle. Sir Henry Bartle Frere, the British High Commissioner in South Africa, manufactured a pretext for war. He issued an ultimatum to Sethweo in December 1878 that he knew was impossible to comply with in full, demanding the disbandment of the Amabutho system within 30 days. It was designed to fail. When it did, Britain declared war on January 11, 1879. Lieutenant General Lord Chelmsford led the British invasion. He divided his force into multiple columns crossing into Zululand simultaneously. Chelmsford was not a cautious man. He was supremely confident in British firepower and deeply contemptuous of Zulu military capability. Intelligence reports warning of large Zulu force concentrations were dismissed or ignored. Chelmsford believed the Zulus would scatter when faced with organized volley fire. That arrogance would cost him dearly within 11 days of crossing the border. The central column of roughly 1,700 men, including 1,200 British regulars and 500 native contingent troops, camped at the base of a sphinx-shaped rock called Isandlwana on January 21. Chelmsford himself took half the force out on a reconnaissance, chasing what turned out to be a decoy patrol. He left the camp under the command of Lieutenant Colonel Henry Pullane with no explicit orders to Lager, to draw the wagons into a defensive circle. That oversight was catastrophic. On the morning of January 22, a British patrol stumbled onto the main Zulu army, approximately 20,000 warriors, hidden in a ravine less than 5 miles from the camp. The Zulu commanders had not yet completed their positioning and had hoped to attack the following day. But the discovery forced their hand. The horns of the buffalo unfurled spontaneously. 20,000 men began moving across the plain toward Isandlwana in silence broken only by the sound of feet on dry grass. What happened next was a textbook demonstration of how tactical brilliance defeats technological advantage. The British defenders spread their thin line too wide, trying to cover the entire perimeter. Their ammunition became a critical bottleneck. Supply boxes were sealed with screws and a single screwdriver was needed per box, creating a grotesque logistical failure in the middle of a firefight. Soldiers ran out of cartridges while cases sat unopened yards away. the Zulu horns completed their encirclement. The chest crashed into the center. British lines buckled, fractured, and collapsed. By mid-afternoon, the camp was overrun. Over 1,300 men were dead. The Zulus lost an estimated 2,000 warriors in the assault, a figure that reflects how fierce the resistance was even in defeat. But here is what nobody talks about. Isandlwana was not the whole story of January 22nd. That same afternoon, 4,000 Zulu warriors from a reserve regiment attacked a small British garrison of just over 150 men at Rorke's Drift, a mission station on the Buffalo River. Those defenders, many of them sick or recovering from surgery, held out through the night behind walls of biscuit boxes and mealie bags. They repelled assault after assault until dawn. 11 Victoria Crosses were awarded for that defense, the most ever given for a single engagement in British history. But the British public and press immediately seized on Rorke's Drift to obscure the catastrophe of Isandlwana. Chelmsford himself encouraged the narrative. A small victory was weaponized to swallow a massive defeat. The war continued. Britain immediately reinforced with over 10,000 additional troops. Chelmsford, desperate to redeem his reputation before a replacement commander could arrive, pushed deep into Zululand. On July 4, 1879, the British caught the Zulu army in the open at the Battle of Ulundi. With a disciplined square formation and Gatling guns, they shattered the Zulu charge. Sethwayo fled and was captured weeks later. The kingdom was dismembered, divided into 13 chiefdoms, and stripped of centralized authority. The Zulu Kingdom as a political entity effectively ceased to exist. But what does this conflict actually reveal? Several things that matter well beyond the battlefield. First, the Zulus were not defeated because British tactics or technology were inherently superior. At Isandlwana, Zulu tactics overcame British firepower completely. The British required massive reinforcement, a full reorganization of logistics, and a commander willing to use overwhelming force before they could achieve victory. The idea that European colonial expansion succeeded because of automatic military dominance is directly contradicted by this war. Second, this conflict exposed the degree to which colonial wars were driven by administrative agenda rather than genuine threat. The Zulu Kingdom had not attacked British territory. It had not threatened British settlers in any organized way. The ultimatum was engineered. The war was chosen. That pattern, a manufactured pretext used to justify the annexation of a functioning state, repeated itself across the colonial world throughout the 19th century. Isandlwana was unusual only because the intended victim refused to cooperate with the expected outcome. Third, the tactical innovation Shaka developed decades earlier proved durable enough to threaten a modern professional army at close to full strength. The Impondo Zankomo was not improvised. It was institutional doctrine developed over generations. It succeeded in January 1879 for the same reason it had succeeded for decades, because it was designed around the actual capabilities of its warriors and the actual vulnerabilities of its opponents. Military effectiveness is not a function of technology alone. It is a function of doctrine, leadership, cohesion, and the will to fight. The Anglo-Zulu War lasted 6 months. It cost the British government approximately £5 million and the lives of over 1,700 soldiers. It ended with a British military victory but an enormous political embarrassment for both Chelmsford and Frere, both of whom were recalled. The Zulu Kingdom lost its sovereignty. Before you go, if you learned something valuable today, hit that like button right now. Subscribe to War History for a brand new video every single day. We will see you in the next one.